Consider the terrifying possibility that stupidity is not merely the absence of intelligence, but an active, destructive force. Imagine it as a contagion that can turn brilliant minds into weapons of devastation. What if the greatest danger to our civilization isn't malicious villains plotting in the shadows, but ordinary people who have voluntarily surrendered their ability to think? Visualize this scenario. A highly credentialed scientist suddenly begins peddling dangerous falsehoods. A dedicated, compassionate teacher starts championing ideologies that harm their students. A loving parent begins making choices that put their own family at risk. These are not evil people. They are educated, well-intentioned individuals who have been captured by what Dietrich Bonhoeffer identified as the sheer power of stupidity. And here is the most unsettling part. This isn't happening to them, it is happening to us. This is not a matter of philosophical abstraction. In 1961, Stanley Milgram shocked the world with his obedience experiments at Yale. Regular volunteers were told by an authority figure to administer what they believed were lethal electric shocks to a stranger. Despite hearing cries of agony, 65% of participants continued to push the button. These people weren't sadists, they weren't mentally unstable. They were normal citizens who had temporarily abdicated their moral judgment to an authority figure. This phenomenon is exactly what Bonhoeffer witnessed in Nazi Germany, leading him to formulate one of the most disturbing theories of human nature in history. But before we go further, ask yourself honestly, have you ever adopted a belief simply because it was the consensus of the room? Hold that thought, because we are about to unpack one of the most critical psychological insights of our time. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was not a distant academic debating abstract concepts. He was a German Lutheran pastor who watched the disintegration of his society in real time. Born in 1906 into a family of psychiatrists and neurologists, he was raised to trust in the pillars of education and logic. Yet, as the Nazi regime ascended, Bonhoeffer saw something that dismantled his faith in human rationality. He watched his peers, doctors, professors, and theologians, endorse policies that violated their deepest values. These were not uneducated masses duped by trickery. These were the intellectual elite actively participating in their own mental capitulation. From a prison cell in 1943, awaiting execution for resisting Hitler, Bonhoeffer penned his most haunting conclusion: against stupidity, we are defenseless. He noted that force and protest are useless against it. Reason falls flat. What made his theory so chilling was his distinction between evil and stupidity. Evil carries the seeds of its own destruction. It makes people uneasy. But stupidity, the stupid person believes they are doing good. They are self-righteous and completely immune to correction. Bonhoeffer's most prescient insight was that stupidity is a tool of power. Malicious leaders do not need to forcibly suppress the truth. They only need to create an environment where processing the truth becomes too difficult. When Bonhoeffer spoke of stupidity, he was not referring to IQ. He was describing functional stupidity, a willful ignorance. He wrote that in conversation with such a person, you realize you aren't talking to a human being, but to slogans and catchphrases that have possessed them. He argued that this is not a psychological defect, but a sociological one. People do not lose their minds in isolation. They surrender them under the pressure of the collective. This is where the theory becomes uncomfortably relevant to our modern economy. Our systems are designed to incentivize intellectual shortcuts. Social media giants generate billions in revenue by triggering emotional reflexes rather than critical thought. News cycles prioritize outrage over nuance. In a world where people are working multiple jobs and drowning in debt, giving up on complex thinking becomes a survival mechanism. Economists call this rational ignorance. It is simply more efficient to remain uninformed than to spend the energy required to understand a complex world. However, while this ignorance might feel rational to the individual, it creates a collective insanity, the exact dynamic Bonhoeffer observed in the 1930s. Our biology betrays us here as well. In the 1950s, Leon Festinger's research on cognitive dissonance prove that the human brain actively fights against information that contradicts existing beliefs. Bonhoeffer understood intuitively what modern psychology has since proven. Stress and insecurity amplify this rejection of truth. Bonhoeffer noted that humans are social animals who fear isolation more than error. Solomon Asch's conformity experiments later confirmed this, showing that 75% of people will agree with an obviously wrong group consensus just to fit in. Today, algorithms have weaponized this tendency. A 2018 MIT study revealed that lies spread 6 times faster than truth on social platforms, largely because lies are emotionally simpler and more satisfying than complex realities. We are trapped in echo chambers that function like intellectual quicksand. If your social media feed only shows you what you want to see, that is not a coincidence. It is the architecture of chosen ignorance. We have seen this pattern throughout history. The Salem witch trials and the Red Scare were not driven by monsters, but by fearful, patriotic, God-fearing citizens who abandoned critical thinking for the safety of the herd. So, how do we resist? Bonhoeffer believed the cure was costly grace, the willingness to think independently even when it is dangerous. Today, that means fighting not just social pressure, but our own evolutionary wiring and the algorithms designed to exploit it. We must cultivate intellectual humility, the acceptance that we could be wrong. This requires intellectual friction. We must deliberately read arguments that anger us, not to change our minds, but to test the strength of our convictions. We need to practice productive ignorance, asking ourselves what evidence would be required to change our stance. If the answer is nothing, we have already succumbed to the stupidity Bonhoeffer warned against. We must slow down. A 60-second pause before sharing information can break the dopamine loop of the algorithm. We must relearn the phrase, "I don't know," viewing it as a badge of honor rather than a sign of weakness. But individual effort isn't enough. We need structural defense. We need economic security that frees up mental bandwidth for deep thinking. We need platforms that reward nuance over engagement. Bonhoeffer's warning is more urgent now than in 1943 because the threat has evolved. He fought radio propaganda. We are fighting AI-driven deep fakes and algorithms that know our psychology better than we know ourselves. Our brains evolved to trust the familiar and decide quickly. Traits that kept our ancestors alive, but now make us vulnerable to manipulation. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we watched analytical professionals share debunked theories, proving that intelligence is no shield against this phenomenon. When people feel threatened, they crave simple narratives, and there are now systems essentially designed to feed us those narratives. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was hanged on April 9, 1945, just weeks before liberation. His sacrifice was not just political, it was a defense of the human capacity for thought. He understood that when we stop thinking for ourselves, we become puppets. The question he leaves us with is this: who stands fast? When the pressure to conform is crushing, when the truth is expensive and lies are cheap, who stands fast? The answer is not found in genius, but in character. It is found in the daily choice to value curiosity over certainty. It is the refusal to let your mind atrophy. Thinking is painful. It requires holding contradictory ideas in your head. It requires admitting error. But Bonhoeffer argued that this pain is the price of remaining human. We are all susceptible. The moment you believe you are immune to propaganda is the moment you have been infected. The only defense is eternal vigilance against our own desire for comfort. So here is the challenge. Treat critical thinking like physical exercise. It will be uncomfortable, but you cannot navigate the modern world without it. This week, take one deeply held belief and research the best arguments against it. If your belief holds up, it will be stronger. If it doesn't, you will have gained something far more valuable: the truth. If this discussion made you question something you were certain about, that is not a weakness. That is the spark of intellectual courage. In a world designed to profit from your surrender, the simple, quiet act of thinking for yourself is the ultimate rebellion. What is one belief you are brave enough to question this week? Let's commit to being the people who stand fast when the world stops thinking.